Continue reading Brahma Samhita 5.6. Evam Jyotirmayo Deva Sad Anandha Parad Para Atma Ramasya Tasyasti Prakrityana Samagamaha. The Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and is busily engaged in the enjoyments of the transcendental realm and has no association with his mundane potency. The sole potency of Krishna, which is spiritual, functioning as Krishna's own proper power, has manifested his pastimes of Goloka or Gokula. By her grace, individual souls who are constituents of the marginal potency can have admission into even those pastimes. The deluding energy, who is of the nature of the perverted reflection of the spiritual chit potency, has got her location on the other side of the river Viraja, which surrounds the Brahma Dhama, forming the boundary of Mahavaikuntha as the outer envelope of Goloka. The position of Goloka being absolutely unalloyed with the mundane deluding energy, far from having any association with Krishna, feels ashamed to appear before his view. 5.7. Maya ya rama manasya na vyogastaya saha atmana ramaya reme tyakta kalam sisrikshaya. Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy, still her connection is not entirely cut off from the absolute truth. When he intends to create the material world, the amorous pastimes in which he engages by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency Rama, by casting his glance at the deluding energy in the shape of sending his time energy, is an auxiliary activities. The illusory energy has no direct contact with Krishna, but has got indirect contact. Vishnu, the prime cause lying in the causal ocean, the plenary portion of Mahasankarshana, who has his seat in Mahavaikuntha, the sphere of Krishna's own extended transcendental pastimes, casts his glance towards the deluding energy. Even in casting his glance, he has no contact with the deluding energy, because the spiritual chit potency Rama then carries the function of his glance as his unpopulated, eva submissive potency. The deluding energy, as the maidservant of the spiritual chit potency Ram, serves the manifested plenary portion of Godhead consorted with Rama. The time energy, representing the force of activity and instrumentality of Ram. Hence, there is found the process of masculinity or the creative force. Niyatihi sa Rama Devi tat priya tad vasam tada tal lingam bhagavan sambhur jyotir rupa sanatana ya yonir sapara sakti kama bijam mahadhare. The secondary process for association with Maya is described. Ramadevi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. At creation there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Swamsa. This halo is divine Sambhu, the masculine symbol or manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim twilight reflection of the supreme eternal effulgence. The masculine symbol is the subjective portion of a divinity who functions as progenitor of the mundane world, subject to the supreme regulatrix Niyati. The conceiving potency in regard to mundane creation makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute apara potency, the symbol of mundane feminine productivity. The intercourse of these two brings forth the faculty of perverted cognition, the reflection of the seed of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. Shankarshana, possessed of creative desire is the subjective portion of Krishna taking the initiative in bringing about the birth of the mundane world, lying in the causal water as the primal Purusa avatara. He casts his glance towards Maya, the limited potency. Such glance is the efficient cause of the mundane creation, Sambhu. The symbol of masculine mundane procreation is the dim halo of this reflected effulgence. It is this symbol which is applied to the organ of a generation of Maya, the shadow of Ram or the divine potency. The first phase of the appearance of the mundane desire created by Mahavishnu is called the seminal principle of Mahat or the perverted cognitive faculty. It is this which is identical with the mental principle ripe for procreative activity. The conception underlying it is that will of the Purusa who creates by using the efficient and material principles. Efficiency is Maya or the protective feminine organ. The material principle is Sambhu or the procreative masculine organ. Mahavishnu is Purusa or the dominating divine person wielding the will, Pradhana or the substantive principle in the shape of mundane activities. Mundane entities is the material principle, nature embodying the accommodating principle Adhara is Maya. The principle of embodied will bringing about the intercourse of the two is the dominating divine person Purusa, subjective portion of Krishna, the manifesta of the mundane world. All of these three are creators. The seed of amorous creative desire in Goloka is the embodiment of pure cognition. The seed of sex desire to be found in this mundane world is that of Kali, etc., who are the shadows of the divine potency. The former, although it is the prototype of the latter, is located very far from it. The seed of the mundane sex desire is the perverted reflection in this mundane world of the seed of the original creative desire. The process of the appearance of Sambhu is recorded in the 10th and 15th slokas. Linga yoni atmika jata imha maheshwari prajha. All offspring of the consort of the great Lord Maheshwara of this mundane world are of the nature of the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. The full quadrantal extensions of the Supreme Lord is His Majesty. Of this, the triquadrantal extensions of unlamenting, non-perishing and non-apprehending situations constitute the majesties of the realm of Vaikuntha and Goloka, etc. In this temporal realm of Maya, Devas and man, etc., all this together with all mundane worlds are the great majesties of the limited potency. All these entities are embodiments of the masculine and feminine organs of generations by the distinction of efficient and material causal principles, or in other words, they are produced by the process of sexual intercourse between the male and female organs of generations. All the information that has been accumulated by the agency of the sciences of this world possesses this nature of sexual co-union. Trees, plants, and even all insentient entities are embodiments of the co-union of male and female. The feature that is of special significance is that although such expressions as the generative organs of male and female are indecorous, yet in scientific literature these words expressing the above-mentioned principles are exceedingly wholesome and productive of abiding value. Indecorum is merely an entity pertaining to the external custom of society, but science, and especially the highest science, cannot destroy the true entity by difference to social custom. Therefore, in order to demonstrate the seed of mundane sex desire, the basic principle of this phenomenon world, the use of those identical words is indispensable. By the use of all these words, only the masculine energy or the predominating active potency and female energy or the predominated active potency are to be understood. Shaktiman Purusa so ayam linga rupi Maheshwara tasmin avira bhullinghe Mahavishnu Jagatpati. The person embodying the material causal principle, viz. The great lord of this mundane world, Maheshwara Sambhu, in the form of the male generating organ, is joined to his female consort, the limited energy Maya, as the efficient cause principle. The lord of the world, Mahavishnu, is manifest in him by his subjective portion in the form of his glands. In the transcendental atmosphere, Paravyoma, where spiritual majesty preponderates, there is present Sri Narayana, who is not different from Krishna. Mahashankarshan, subjective plenary facsimile of the extended personality of Sri Narayana, is also the divine plenary portion of the propagatory embodiment of Sri Krishna. By the power of his spiritual energy, a plenary subjective portion of him, eternally reposing in the neutral stream of Viraja, forming the boundary between the spiritual and mundane realms, casts his glance at creation under the limited shadow potency. Maya, who is located far away from himself, thereupon Sambhu, Lord of Pradhan, embodying the substantive principle of all material entities, who is the same as Rudra, the dim reflection of the Supreme Lord's own divine glance, consummates his intercourse with Maya, the efficient mundane causal principle, but he can do nothing independently of the energy of Mahavishnu, representing the direct spiritual power of Krishna. Therefore, the principle of Mahat, or the perverted cognitive faculty, is produced only when the subjective plenary portion of Krishna, viz. The prime divine avatar Mahavishnu, who is the subjective portion of Sankarsana, himself the subjective portion of Krishna, is propitious towards the active mutual endeavors of Maya. Shiva's consort Shakti and Pradhana, or the principle of substantive mundane causality, agreeably to the initiative of Mahavishnu, the consort of Shiva, creates successively the mundane ego, Ahankara, the five mundane elements, bhutas, viz., space, etc., their attributes, tanmantaras, and the limited senses of the conditioned soul, jiva, the constituent particles in the form of pencils of effulgence of Mahavishnu, are manifest as the individual souls, jivas. This will be elaborated in the sequel. Hare Krishna.